On this episode of the John1911 Podcast, Biden pardons, Trump's revenge, will the U.S. invade Mexico, and Danny's new job. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is Danny and Marky, and this is episode 362 of the John1911 Podcast. Today is Thursday, January 23rd, 12:15 p.m. We have to timestamp everything because Donald Trump moves faster than a speeding bullet. And this is going to end up being an emergency extemporaneous political podcast episode. How you doing, Danny?
Pretty good. Yeah, other than, this cold, and you've been experiencing it too. It's the only thing keeping me warm is the speed of light going through the TV watching Trump.
Yeah.
He is he's a whirlwind. I mean, I can't believe the EOs, and everything else. And I looked outside and I see Noah building Ark 2.0 for all the tears that are coming.
Dude. So, all right. Well, we were talking this morning in the group chat about pardons. And I think there's been a couple days now to digest the pardons. I mean, I guess Biden has pardoned all the January 6th committee members in Congress and staff members, which is like super weird to me. He's pardoned Milley, General Milley, which is a little weird. And then Biden pardoned his family, and including most folks in his family that most people have never heard of, such as Val or Valerie. And I guess it's understood now that Valerie kind of is the logistics daily go-between person that makes his family run. So I don't know, maybe she's the one that hands off the money, but it just seems, it's like, okay, why does she need a pardon if there's really not a whole, you know what I mean? Like, why would she need a pardon unless there's actually shit that she needs a pardon for?
Well, it's a preemptive pardon, which means that anything she does, past, present, and future, she's untouchable.
Well, yeah. I mean, so have you seen any of these pardons? I mean, are these pardons? I heard did the Biden pardons go back to 2014, like for his family?
Yeah, they go back as from the cradle to grave pardons, from what I understand.
They're Snake Plissken pardons?
Yes.
Bob Houck is handed off, holds up the thing, and you get a pardon for all crimes committed in the United States. Like, it's it's everything. So they get pardons back to forever, or not? I heard somebody got a pardon only back to like 2014. Do you know who
I would
was?
have to look into each individual, but from what I'm understanding, the reason they're preemptive is so that the government cannot come after them for any pinpoint issue. They're pretty much infallible for the rest of their life with everything they say and do.
Okay, and look, we can make an argument. Okay, all right, it's fine, and protect his family, and okay. And the reality is the we have crossed over into Banana Republic stuff with all the shit that they've gone after Trump on. They're just swan diving into this, but the Clintons and whatever, okay, like we know that there's. Okay, here's what we used to say. Like, I remember back during Obama's presidency, and, people would be like, Hillary Clinton's going to jail and Eric Holder's going to jail. And I would tell people, even if Eric Holder's held in contempt of court, or contempt of Congress, he's not going to jail. We're not going to put the first black attorney general in jail. And we're not going to put the former first lady, who's the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, in jail. It's just like, because we're not going to be in a situation where we're whacking each other's wives, okay, even though she's become a politician. We're not going to do that. Well, the left has blown all that up. And, I can understand Trump giving or Biden giving a pardon to his family, especially considering what we know how that family operates. That makes sense. I'm not justifying it, but it makes sense. But politically speaking, why would a bunch of members of Congress sitting on a quote bipartisan, because of Liz and Kinzinger, bipartisan panel in Congress need a criminal pardon from a president? I mean, just, people say, well, because Trump's going to come after him. It's like, well, if they're just doing their job, there's nothing criminal about running an investigation. There's nothing criminal about asking questions.
Well, I don't know if you've been
And
deep
it's entirely
diving.
separate branch of government. Like, I don't like what's going on here.
Well, supposedly there's allegations against your girlfriend Liz
My
for
girlfriend.
for witness tampering during the J6 committee hearings.
My girlfriend is Nancy Mace, I'll have you know, sir.
That's only because she's a fighter. But anyway, supposedly there's allegations of witness tampering. There's several other allegations, and it's and the main allegation, besides the allegation of witness tampering, is destroying of records and evidence that
Well,
were part of the January 6th hearing.
that's really weird to me. So, okay, because here's the thing. It's like, all right, let me go back to one of my favorite tropes. And, I was having like a mental conniption when this was happening because I was really not happy with how weak the Congress had become when they had pulled in Lois Lerner from the IRS because she was targeting conservative groups, 501c4s, right? 504, yeah, 50, yeah, I think it's 501c4s. I think it's, if I remember. And then they brought in that guy Kerkurian or whatever his name was, who was the director. And these people basically weren't cooperating with Congress, and then Congress was subpoenaing records. And then, the director comes back and he's like, well, we ended up upgrading the computers and whatever, and so the stuff is, it's not really available right now. And then members of Congress are like, well, we want the hard drives because we can go through forensically. We'll have the FBI go through, and we will recreate everything that was on these hard drives. And the guy's like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, we're going to comply. Then he comes back and he goes, well, unfortunately, it looks like the hard drives were shredded and destroyed for security reasons. And that was so dirty that
Yes,
it's
it
like, I mean,
was.
at that point, if we are where we are, we were then where we are now, where we put Steve Bannon in jail for contempt of Congress. At that point, I would have been sergeant at arms, grabbed the IRS director, and put his ass in the fucking basement at the Capitol building in that lockup room. And we'll figure this shit out. And so now we're to the point where, in essence, Congress is having a bipartisan trial because of Kinzinger and what's her face,
Cheney.
and Cheney, your girlfriend, not mine. Again, mine's Nancy Mace,
Hey,
and
that's my side.
and they're in essence almost putting people on trial. Is kind of what they're doing here. Is they're gathering up criminal evidence and procedures to testify, to either refer to the Justice Department or do various things. And so not only are you into the whole, I understand Liz Cheney talked to, there's a woman, I can't remember this young girl's name, but she's the one that was, I guess she worked in the White House. I think she's from Cincinnati, actually. Her family is. She worked in the White House. She, was testifying about how things went that day. And then Liz Cheney apparently talked to her, and all of a sudden, her story changed. and she's making these crazy allegations like Donald Trump's trying to choke out Secret Service agents and shit in the car. And it's just like, and even the Secret Service, which makes it a point to not really talk about stuff because of how their job works, because they can't protect people if they can't give them privacy because they have to be so close. Um, cough, cough, Barack and Michelle Obama. Your marriage. We'll talk about that later. Um, they even came out and said that wasn't. There's like that was. I mean, it's almost laughing. It's like, no offense to President Trump. He's 70 some years old, and I mean, some Secret Service agent who's not a DEI prospect who drives the car, who works on the presidential protective detail. I mean, his job, and it's going to be It's his
Yeah.
job is to be able to snap people in two. Like it's like, give me a fucking
Let
break with
alone the other
this.
three agents that were in the car.
Yeah,
So, yeah, that's it. Yeah, he did that. He pulled a Hulk Hogan on him. Sure,
he
but
pulled.
yet,
That might
but
be the
yet,
title. He pulled a
yeah,
Hulk Hogan. But
but
okay, but all right. So hold on. So what the fuck? Like what? Okay. So Liz Cheney's in trouble, probably. But how can they prove it? Like, I mean, did Liz Cheney? Is she so dumb that she sent an email? Like, okay, Liz Cheney. Like, this woman has an attorney, and Liz Cheney is a position of power. If I have an attorney and I'm testifying before Congress, even if it's friendly members of Congress, you're not supposed to be talking to me. You got to talk to my attorney. Doing that is a crime. Coming at me directly because I have representation. It's to protect my rights and keep me from incriminating myself. It looks like Liz Cheney talked to this woman directly, got her to suborn perjury. So Liz Cheney suborned perjury. Need more coffee. And so did she do this in emails? Like, is this trackable? So okay, so also you're telling me that okay, Liz Cheney needs a pardon. She's guilty of a crime. It's like, all right, okay, we can see she's so crazy because she's destroying her career. She's got to somehow try to get through the fire to save herself. So she's just desperate. But then
she's
it's like,
crazy
wait a
with
minute.
she's crazy with hatred.
But then you're telling me, wait a minute. Okay, all the other members on this panel need a pardon, then all the staffers, and there's going to be a lot of staffers that are digging up documents, researching, interviewing, emailing. So are they all getting a pardon uh because it's the cover for Liz Cheney, or is there a bunch of other shit going on? And now you're telling me that this congressional committee that did all this shit, all this research, they've destroyed they've destroyed their research, they've destroyed the paperwork they generated. Is that true?
Supposedly.
If
Why else?
that if that is true, if that is true, irrespective irrespective of pardons, how in the world does the Speaker of the House, whether you're Republican or Democrat, not go down there and basically be like, give me a list of everybody that worked on this goddamn committee. You're all out, you're all off, you're off the fucking hill. You're fired. And then basically go to the DCCC and the Republican whatever congressional committee and start, you know, primarying all these people. Like, we got to get them out of here. Or like, okay, here's the other thing: strip them all of their committee assignments. Like, I mean, if this is such a big deal, and this really happened, the Biden pardon thing is just the tip of the iceberg. This should be like a 3 alarm fire on Capitol Hill, and nobody's talking about that.
Well, because now they're immune because of the pardon.
All right, so okay, cool story, bro. O.J. Simpson was was found not guilty for murdering his wife and Ron Goldman, right?
Correct.
But everybody knew O.J. did it, so they went after him civilly. Everybody knew he did it. Better to you know, to send 10 guilty men free than to put one innocent man in jail. What was that Blackstone's ratio or whatever they call it? It's like, okay, we can still get him civilly. It's like, if this is, I mean, why is this here? Politically, I'm asking questions. I don't know the answer, but it's like, oh man, Biden issued a pardon. It's like, oh, that's terrible. All right, why isn't Jim Jordan, Speaker of the House, all these people in Congress, 3 alarm fire? Like, what the fuck? We have a bunch of people in Congress that are conducting investigations with U.S. citizens supposedly suborning perjury. Now they're hiding all the evidence. It doesn't matter if Trump gives them a fucking pardon. You can basically end their careers. Nobody's offering to do that. So this is fake. This is bullshit. And Republicans are covering for it as well. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, Jesus, you're taking over for me as a conspiracist. But anyway, it's the old adage: keep your eye on the prize. Deflect, deflect, deflect. So I, in a way, agree with you because maybe there is more than meets the eye here, but to give blanket pardons to the entire committee and staff, if it doesn't make you wonder, then you're dead. Something's going on, with your mind. There's got to be an underlying reason.
It's crazy. I mean, there must have been a bunch of coordination between,
The White House and that committee.
the White House, that committee, and prosecutors in New York and prosecutors in Georgia. Because I know there were staff members that had left the Justice Department and had gone to work on some of these state things. It's
Correct.
the pardon thing. I've never heard. I get the fucking Biden pardon thing. It's obvious that family's so crooked. It's fine. I mean, it's not fine, but it's like that I'm used to. But how do you give a pardon? I mean, like, this committee in Congress isn't just the people that were elected. I mean, I don't know how many people are on this committee. If you think about, I'm the chief of staff for Liz Cheney. I'm the press officer for Liz Cheney. I'm a whatever person. Then you got the staff people that work directly for the chairman of the staff or the lead people of the staff. And research, like, there could be I don't know, there could be 200 people that got a pardon.
Easily.
How do you give 200 people a pardon that you've never heard of in a legislative body that's supposed to be accountable to the American people? That doesn't sound like a pardon. Like, so you're telling me President Biden. So not only do we have the Justice Department and the FBI and other departments in the executive branch have been involved in a giant criminal conspiracy to totally fuck Donald Trump and to fuck a lot of people. Look, I'm not defending the shit that happened on January 6th, but there's a lot of people. It's like, wait a minute, in the Constitution and in the Bill of Rights, you have the right to a speedy trial. And I am hearing rumors that some of these people hadn't been adjudicated, but they've been sitting in jail for years, 3-4 years. How do you sit in jail for 3 or 4 years without having a trial? You know what I mean? On basically a riot case. And it's like, okay, so you're telling me, so now this conspiracy has gone from the deep state, permanent Washington, the bureaucratic people in the executive branch you can never get rid of, that it's now morphed over to the legislative branch, that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people committed crimes to not only fuck over Donald Trump, but possibly deny the constitutional rights of people who either committed crimes or were wrapped up in arrest for January 6th. That's where we're at now?
Yeah, I believe you're correct. Why do you think there was such the effort, and I don't mean Democrat, Republican wanting to be president, not to have Trump in? Because they know that he's going to go full balls forward and open this shit up. Don't think he won't. Because he has, I don't want to say has, on a vengeful track here, but let's just say some people are going to be paying the piper for what they've done to him, and it's going to open up. And I think, like I said on our group text, it's just the tip of the iceberg. What becomes uncovered, what is going to be shown, why so, and why do you think there's so much resentful from these rhino Republicans of voting for these nominees of Trump's cabinet? They know it's just a matter of time before they're exposed. I really feel that.
Well, if you think about this for a minute, just to make a point, how many people do they claim were wrapped up in the January 6th situation? Is it, I've heard as many as 1,500 people? If that's true, maybe true,
Wow,
possibly.
it could be, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and then it, and
Well,
then it's
there were 1,500 pardons and 14 commutings,
commutations. Okay, so
commutations.
and then it came out that there were like 24, 26 federal agents or undercover officers or um,
Plants.
no, they call it. I have a brain fart. What do they call the cops call it when they get somebody a confidential informant? CI.
Yeah, CIs.
Uh, so so they cut, but it's like, okay, so there's 1,500 people minus 24. Okay, whatever, that's fine. Well, I mean, the J6 committee could be a couple hundred people. You look at the IRS, there's probably 100 people. You look at the FBI, there's probably 100, 200 people. And then you look at all the stuff going on down there in Georgia against Trump, and then the shit going on in Florida against Trump, and then the shit that's going on in, Southern District of New York, Trump, and then in Bragg's office. And I mean, there could be 1,500 people involved in this. Like, people, like, let's just put this in perspective here. There's 1,500 people who tried to overthrow American democracy. Just hear me out. Okay? Well, apparently, if I'm going to make the naughty list, we're getting pretty close to 1,500 people that tried to overthrow American democracy through law. It's like this, like, holy shitballs. This is getting out of control. I heard Trump made a comment that Biden didn't pardon himself. Do you think politically, do you think Trump goes after Biden?
Mm, that's a
2025 Trump, not 2020 Trump.
2025 Trump. Trump would go after Mother Teresa. Because he has nothing to lose. I mean, here's a guy that was impeached twice, almost assassinated twice, and how many court appearances and lawsuits was he charged with? This and that. I think I think Trump is going to grind more axes than a woodsman. I really do.
I
I
think he
really
will
do.
too. I think he's going after Biden. I
He's
think
going to
he's.
go
I
after
think.
everybody.
I think he's going after Biden. Now, okay, let's talk politics here because there's going to be a couple things that are going to happen. Okay, so let's. Okay, so okay, because there is politics involved here. Okay, so Trump apparently he stripped the security clearance of the 51 intelligence community folks that signed that letter, claiming that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation and the entire thing was
Right,
fake,
right.
including I'll say it again, Mike Hayden. He's been ill. Mike Hayden signed that, and I was so disappointed that General Mike Hayden signed that. Um, and like, it was just really just like a blot on a stellar career and respectful man. who's a Democrat, he's a general, but it's like, Democrat. But I was like, oh God, dude, really? And then he yanked Bolton's security clearance, and then it came as a shock to me.
Not me
No, no,
whatsoever.
no. Then it came as a shock to me that Bolton's getting Secret Service protection, and I was like, he is even
Was,
now.
was.
Well, Trump yanked his Secret Service protection. So here's the problem, and we got to realize this. So right now, Trump is winning by virtue of his position, his political power, by proximity to how recently the election was, his position in a timeline. As things progress and things happen, things will change, and the media will start harping on Trump. So Trump killed Soleimani. He droned his ass, who was the Quds commander, and he droned him outside of Baghdad International Airport in Iraq. And the Iranians have been hot to trot on. They've been hot to trot on Trump. They've got hits out against Trump, and supposedly they would also like to get some hits out against Trump administration officials, especially former ones. If the Iranians or they try to say it's a wackadoo. If somebody kills Bolton, is there a political? Well, the media will make hay of it, but will it make a difference politically in this country? This is Trump's fault. Trump killed Bolton because he yanked his Secret Service protection.
No, because I'll tell you why. Bolton was on every mainstream media station before the election, just blasting Trump, blasting Trump, blasting Trump. Okay? Now, Trump pulled the Secret Service protection. Would you keep protection on somebody that rode you back and forth over the coals? Hell no. And I think this is just part of Trump showing people he's not putting up with this backstabbing shit anymore. Because if he would do that to Bolton, you don't think he's going to be, I don't want to use the word empowered, but more apt to go after all these people that threw the screws to him? I do.
Well, here's the thing, and let's talk about Bolton Secret Service protection. Just oddly enough, I just happened to know this. I had an acquaintance send me a video, and they were in the I don't care if they were in Dubai or if UAE Dubai, one of those. And during the day, driving down the street, and John Bolton is over there, and he's just walking down the street by himself. And this, he's in the Middle East, walking down the street, and it's like there's no Secret Service protection. When does he get Secret Service protection? And also, I'm gonna say this. This was during the Biden administration. This happened. Um, Members of the staff of the White House, it's been known that they could have Secret Service protection, or they could have extraordinary security measures. I can't remember the guy's name, but this guy, he worked in the White House. He was a staple. He was like there. I don't know, he's a white-haired guy. Everyone saw this guy testify. I can't remember the dude's name. He testified for like the 9/11 commissions, and he worked for the I think the National Security Council in the White House, and his area was counterterrorism, and he knew all about Osama bin Laden before 9/11. When the attacks happened, he's one of the guys in government that was like, fucking bin Laden, motherfucker, who knew it was him. Bin Laden had issued a fatwa against this guy who none of us had ever heard of this dude unless you worked in the White House or you worked in the intelligence community. He was not a public facing person. It issued a fatwa to assassinate him, and it was considered so serious. He was given permission by the Secret Service Presidential Detail and the Secret Service Uniform Division that monitors the White House. He was allowed to carry a gun in the White House. He carried a .357 Magnum revolver. and it was on his badge that he was armed and he could come
Really?
and go. Yeah, that was his security. So if he had that security good enough to protect himself, it's like, all right. I mean, did Bolton have one of these badges? And then you ask yourself, okay, if we're giving Bolton protection, are we giving Rob O'Neill protection, the guy that shot Bin Laden? The Navy SEAL that shot Bin Laden. And I know there's going to be somebody in the comments who'd be like, he didn't do it. It's a whatever, they lie, whatever. It's like, I don't want to
Right.
fucking hear it. Like, save that for another fucking website. Even if he didn't do it, he's the guy with the credit that did it, and that would be the target. You know what I mean? Like Al Qaeda isn't going to be like, we were going to kill Rob, but we decided he wasn't the real killer. We're looking for the real killer, like OJ. It's like, come on. So, I mean, like, does Rob O'Neill get extra protection? I know they were giving Fauci fucking protection. That fucking piece of shit.
I wonder
mean,
if that's pulled now. That could be
I
interesting.
I believe Fauci's protection may have expired. I think on some level this stuff. But to get back to my point, one of the things that could happen. So, like, there's a theoretical, and so this is the theoretical that presidents have to deal with. They have to think about their life after being in the president. There's going to come a time when Donald Trump isn't. He's going to be a former president again, and so what's he going to do? I guess give himself. I mean, I think Trump's going to have to give himself a pardon. The day
I was thinking about that. Yeah, he's going to.
Yeah, he's going to have to because of just what they've shown, what they've done. But it's like, okay, like, for example, if you're the sitting president and things happen on your watch, even if it's not your fault and not your responsibility, if you let that happen, you're the one that's going to take it up the ass on it. For example, this is a hypothetical. If somebody kills Bolton or somebody kills Fauci or somebody kills Rob O'Neill, and I'm doing that to balance out the equation, who's going to be blamed for that? Trump's going to be blamed for whoever the sitting president is. If, for example, Barack Obama were to be like they didn't even let Jimmy Carter refuse Secret Service protection. Jimmy Carter had the lightest footprint possible. He would fly on these airplanes. He had a couple body men. He had some people that are around his house, but they would not allow Jimmy Carter to completely give up Secret Service protection because somebody would have to sign off on it. And if something happened, if Barack Obama decided, okay, here's a perfect example. This is real world right now. The rumor is that Michelle and Barack Obama are probably going to get a divorce. I don't know if it's true. I don't know how realistic it is. I don't know if it's, I don't know shit. But she's a former first lady. Barack Obama's a former president, the first black president. As a matter of fact, let's just say it, she's the first black first lady. They get divorced. Let's say Barack Obama gets remarried. Do you not let her have Secret Service protection? Even if she calls up and goes, I don't want it. I mean, I'd be like, fuck you. You're getting protection. Because I'm not going to have the first black first lady killed on my watch. You know what I mean? And so, like, you wonder on some of these scenarios politically, as time progresses and things happen. Like right now, Trump has a lot of power, but as things happen that are bolts out of the blue, things that he can't control, they're going to start to come in on him. Somebody kills Fauci. Somebody kills Bolton. They will make big hay out of that. And I just, I would tell Trump to maybe be a little careful. I don't know, or at least have a plan. I'm sure he does. So I worry about the Iranians killing Bolton. Even if you don't like Bolton, if you let him get killed, it's like, ugh, that could be bad.
Yeah, it could. You don't want to. You don't want to open up that can of worms, but on the same token, I hate to say it, but a lot of these people did it to themselves too. So it's where is the happy medium?
Yeah. So okay, politically, where are we at right now? So we have a secretary. Do we have a secretary of defense? Is Hezkath, whatever his name is from Fox News, is he sec
Well,
def?
here's what happened last night. A Democrat senator invoked the 30-hour debate clause. Supposedly, the deal was all reached. They were going to do Bondi, Hegseth, and someone else. I can't remember right now. Well, this Democrat senator went against Schumer after Schumer cut the deal to let everything go through and this and that. And there's a Senate rule that says if any senator brings up any point in the nomination of the 30-hour debate rule, then it is postponed for 30 hours of debate. Well, the
So
Senate
we could have it.
president
We could have a secretary of defense by tomorrow morning.
into the weekend.
No, 30 hours.
I don't
It's
know if
24
it's
hours
30
in a
hours.
day.
Right, but I don't know if it's 30 hours continuous or session hours. I'm not sure. Well,
Oh
anyway,
fuck!
The Senate
If they don't
president said,
adjourn,
yeah, he goes, we're not going to adjourn. He says, I'll keep you guys here all through the weekend and into next week because I don't care. You know what I mean? So now it's power struggle. It's Chris Murphy from
he's
Connecticut.
doing the Rand Paul thing that Rand Paul did years ago.
Right.
Chris Murphy. So like look, the Hegseth thing bothers me a little bit because look, there's politics and all that, but look, the world is at war. Okay.
Right.
And you need a Secretary of Defense because to fight a war, like a big war. The Secretary of Defense flies around in the Doomsday plane, the E-4B 747. He doesn't fly around no fancy plane. He flies around in the one that it's Air Force One that is ready to fucking fight. And it's got just like a little apartment in it, it's some
I've
facilities
seen
for people
picture, yes.
to take shits in it. Like it's not, it's like, come on, like let's go with this. And I'm glad they got Rubio. He's Secretary of State because you've got within succession in the White House, in the executive branch, president, vice president, and then my seniority, it's the Secretary of State. And then I think after that, Secretary of Defense. So they've got Rubio in. So we need that for continuity of government. But we need a SecDef. Like, come on, you fucks.
I actually like him.
You know what? I'm kind of liking him too. Okay, all
I,
right. You know what? We're not going to have a love fest here. Let's help the listener. You know the game in Washington, Danny. You're chief political correspondent. The
yes.
Democrats,
I was dancing at the ball.
the tradition is the outside party gets to take out one candidate. They get to take out one nomination. I don't believe that them taking out who's the guy from Florida that I don't like. But I would have liked him to be the attorney general. What's his name? He him.
Rubio's from Florida.
No. How quickly we forget the guy in Congress who took down the Speaker of the House. You love this fucking guy, and Trump is going to make him the Attorney General.
Matt Gaetz.
Matt Gaetz.
That's why I'm on the payroll.
I don't count Matt Gaetz as they took out Matt Gaetz because he wasn't officially nominated. So I feel like they get one. Who being nominated so far, if you had to sacrifice one, Hezkath's got to get through at this point. So they still get it. They still get a chance. Who nominated so far? Would you be like, well, okay, we can let this one go? I already have one. I know which one I would give up in a heartbeat.
I know with you, the way you think, it'll be a woman, and it won't be Chris.
Give me a fucking break.
Hey, let me finish. It won't be Kristi Noem, but it will be, let's just say, a Democrat rep that turned Republican that they don't want running the intel. That's my guess.
No, actually, see, here's the thing. Okay, you know what? I hadn't thought of that, but that's a good. I'm not a big fan of Tulsi Gabbard. She's fine, okay? I have a lot of respect for her. She's a commissioned officer in the Army. that's fine. But like all these guys that are like conservative and like they're young and they're like they think she's hot and like whatever and Joe Rogan, like this bitch will take your fucking guns. She's not a goddamn conservative. She's not a fucking Republican. I'm glad she's seen the light. And I believe in people having compassion, especially in certain roles. I would never, ever, ever, ever vote for that bitch to be fucking like anything or to rule over my life. But you know what? Putting her in as the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence, and going there and and tell these people to stop overclassifying everything and putting shit out, I'm all for it. She's not the one that I would take out.
All right, look,
I
I'm
I would
waiting
go
with
after
bated
Pam.
breath.
I would go after Pam Bondi.
No way. No, she's
Oh yeah,
in.
I'd give her up in a heartbeat. I'd give
Nope.
her up in a heartbeat because she is not she's attorney general. She's not pro gun. I don't care what they say. And it's like we need to fix the ATF or really destroy the ATF. We need to fix a lot of this stuff. I think Pam Bondi is going to be just like all the other ones. If they if
I
they
don't think
if they smoke Pam, I'm going to be like, okay, that's fine by me. Could let the pond
I don't
fall.
think so. I don't think so for one reason. They kept asking her basically in layman's terms, are you good, are you still going to be holding to Trump? And she kept saying, I'm going to follow the law. I'm going to follow the law. But she didn't say US law or Trump's law. So, well, it's the truth. One's going to supersede the other, or they're going to work in tandem. I don't think it's Bondi. I think it'll be some. They also put off, of all
Do you
people,
think Christine? Do you
Radcliffe's
think
nomination.
Christine? You think Christine No makes it? I
Do I
think.
what?
I think she. I think. You think Chris? I can't remember what she's. Is she interior? No. What is she? Christine No. What she's
Oh,
up?
I
What is
forget.
she?
Is it into? I can't remember. I don't have my notes with me.
Or is it? What's Bergam? Is Bergam interior? I can't remember. But um, Christy Nome. Well, okay. Let's go back to Pam. Then I'll go to Christy Nome. So okay. So when when Barack Obama was president, um, Eric Holder, who really did a lot to create a lot of these problems that Trump has, because Eric Holder would do things and he would say things and behave in ways because he even publicly stated that I'm ride or die for Barack President Obama. I can't remember what the term, like I'm his right hand man, I'm his wingman or something. And traditionally the attorney general is always supposed to be the lady justice is blind and she holds the scales and
Right.
doesn't tip them. And Eric Holder was like, I'm his buddy, I'm his wingman, I cover for him, I'm his man. And Trump would pick people to be attorney general. And he was like, why aren't you like my version of Eric Holder? And they're like, well, sir, we have to be, traditionally, we're objective. We're not partisan. We don't really work for you. While we're under the executive branch, we're an independent agency because of law enforcement and political corruption. Well, obviously the shit that went on with Obama, the shit that went on under Biden, that's just completely blown out of the water. And the shit that went on when Trump was running for president. I mean, let's not forget Donald Trump. And this is important too, and I'm going to use this to talk about Miley, but we'll come back to it. Trump came out and was like, they're tapping my lines. And everybody in the media was like, ha ha ha, this guy's crazy.
Right.
This is bullshit. What the fuck is he talking about? And sure enough, they literally were tapping his fucking phones when he was a candidate. And they're like, that's ancient history. Nobody even talks about that. Then they used national security state to claim that he's compromised or he's a foreign asset to
Right.
spy
The
and to
Russia hoax.
destroy him. And nobody's talking about any of that. And and it's just like, I don't know why he chose Pam Bondi. I guess he knows her because she's in Florida. She's big on these red
No,
flag laws.
and you don't think that there's more than meets the eye on who he has picked for his cabinet?
Well, let me just make this point. Okay, I do not like Matt Gaetz. I've said that publicly on this podcast. Everybody knows that. I've heard the stories of Matt Gaetz for years for all y'all did. Like, I know people that have run into Matt Gaetz have been like, dude, what the fuck? It was before he was married, so that's fine. He gets a pass. That's fine. But with that being said, I 100% supported Matt Gaetz being Attorney General. And in 2016, those words would have never come out of my mouth. I still sing the praises of Mike Hayden. But the guy that likes Mike Hayden, is now to the point that's so out of control in Washington that I think Matt Gaetz would have been a fantastic Attorney General. Pam
Don't
Bondi, I'm like,
don't think that Matt
whatever.
Gaetz is out of the Trump organization equation yet. He's not.
He's not Attorney General. I want
No,
someone. I
not
want because
not
if you don't
attorney
get
general.
if you don't get somebody in as Attorney General, who in essence is running all the DOJ, FBI, all of these law enforcement agencies, if you don't get a real Attorney General in there to clean this up, dude, we're going to lose the country. I mean, these people think they can get away. Like, again, here's another one. We talked about Stroke and Page, and, they're like, I can't believe this guy's going to be president. And we have an insurance policy to stop this.
Right.
And it's like, that's why I supported Matt Gaetz. Because y'all fuckers are so out of control. You are
Always,
so arrogant. And
but
it's like
always
Pam Bondi,
remember.
part of me's like, fuck me, Pam Bondi, fuck.
Wait a minute.
Fuck.
Wait a minute. You don't think Pam Bondi could just be the figurehead of the department? And always remember also, Matt Gaetz can be appointed without Senate oversight to a number 2 or 3 position. He might be the dirty hands guy. You never know. Don't count him out.
I don't know. I think he might have to be confirmed. But
I'm
here's
going
the
to
other
look
thing
at him.
too.
There's
But
some
here's the thing.
way. Go ahead.
I got bad news. Your theory is not going to hold water, and here's why. Once Pam Bondi, and again, look, I've been wrong about people. I'm famously wrong about Rand Paul. I was very against Rand Paul when he was running for Senate. I was, because I don't like his father. His father is an anti-Semite, racist piece of shit. And, Ron Paul was an anti-Semite, racist piece of shit. I remember Ron Paul from the 70s and 80s and his newsletters. Ron Paul is a completely different person today than he was back then. Just like, Al Sharpton on TV is a completely different person today than he was back in the day. Okay?
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck me, Rand Paul, who the fuck? Give me a break. And I have to admit, I look at Rand Paul as being the conscience of the Senate at this point. He has conducted himself with such honor and logic and adherence to the values that make this country great and the Constitution. I was like, wow, I was wrong. I was really wrong. And, I was very against J.D. Vance. I was like, oh, fuck. And I'm like, whoa, I was 100% wrong. And when I'm wrong, I say it publicly. And also, in case you're getting sued, I say it publicly. I'm very, very pleasantly surprised with J.D. Vance. I was like, I'm impressed by J.D. Vance at this point. Pam Bondi, once she is Attorney General, she is a politician, okay? And she has risen up through the state of Florida. And then she's risen up now to national prominence. And once she is in office and she's confirmed and she has to be the independent leader of the judicial department, you're dreaming if you think, if shit gets hard, that Pam Bondi is going to bend over and fuck her entire career just to make Trump happy. Be like, Pam Bondi is going to go down in history as some Trump sycophant who can't get a job flipping burgers after she's out of government for Donald Trump. No way. I hope I'm wrong, but you need people in there.
You also thought Merrick Garland would be honest and above board too. And what did he do? He flipped Jeff Sessions.
I don't recall.
Come on, why me keep Bill Barr?
I don't recall. I don't ever. No. Bill. Now hold on. Now okay. No. I never said shit about Merrick. I never said shit about. Wait, we can't both talk at the same time. I never said that about Merrick Garland. I mean, I know why they chose him, because it was a big thumb in the eye because they wanted to put him on a Supreme Court and they didn't do it. I will maintain to this day that I like Bill Barr. I respect Bill Barr. I think Bill Barr has probably gotten a little bit of an unfair treatment by the Trump people and the MAGA people, but that's big boy rules, big boy politics. I still have a lot of respect for Bill Barr. And I realize that's not popular with MAGA. That's not popular with our listeners. That's not popular with staff at the John1911 Podcast. But I have a lot of respect for him. I also feel like we're not in a time of Bill Barrs. The guy who's just now sitting here telling you and telling the listener that I will not come off Bill Barr is also the same guy that says, who hates Matt Gaetz. I hate him. I'm like, oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. I'd throw him in there like a hand grenade. Hell to the fuck yeah, Matt Gaetz, all the way. Make 3 copies, press hard.
Well, I like him because he's such a nonconformist.
Well, sure, yeah. Matt Gaetz is all about Matt Gaetz, and which is fine as long as he's serves my interests. But I feel like Pam Bondi is just another politician who Pam Bondi has now made it to Washington D.C. and if she gets confirmed, do you think as she goes home at night and she talks to her husband or whatever she's married to, that she says, well, this is it. This is the apex. After this, we should think about retiring. Or is she going to be like, oh, no, you think you should run for governor? You think you should run for Senate? Do you think maybe you should be an ambassador? Maybe you could run for president. You could be the first female president of the United States. There's all kinds of things possible here. Most of these people are thinking about the future.
I agree with that summation, but she is also beholden to Trump. So she's going to have to weigh the difference. Is she going to listen to the boss or is she going to go rogue? I'm thinking she's going to toe the line, at least for the first 2 years.
We'll see, possibly. We'll see, because here's the thing. You remember Jeff Sessions? He was Attorney General for about 30 seconds.
Yeah, I remember Jeff Sessions.
He was Attorney General for about 30 seconds. And look, and again, the MAGA people, they want to rewrite history on him. And Jeff Sessions was very important for Donald Trump becoming president. A lot of people don't understand. They've forgotten. Because Donald Trump was this guy who's like, who?
Right.
That guy? The TV show guy? What? You're fired? With this guy? The guy with the steaks and the wives and the fucking the plane with the gold. Yeah, the gold toilet? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And nobody took him seriously. And then Jeff Sessions, Senior Senator Jeff Sessions, an old guard Republican, tried and true, very early on came out and said, I've met with this guy. I know this guy. He is for real. I support him. I endorse him. And it lit the Republican Party on fire because it gave everybody permission to admit that they liked this guy. And Donald Trump, being Donald Trump, who's transactional, takes care of his friends. And Donald Trump said, Senator Jeff Sessions, you will be my attorney general. You're a law and order guy. You're a tough guy. He's going to be a great attorney general. He's not going to be beholden to this bullshit crap. And then what happened was the Democrats set his ass up. They created this emergency with tapping Trump's wires, used the national security state. They used the national security state to go after Trump and created this whole Russia collusion thing. And then they brought Sessions in, and they're like, "Do you know anything about this?" He's basically like, "No." You Russian agent? He's like, "No." And they're like, "Have you had any contact with the Russians?" He's like, "No." And then they're like, "Oh, by the way, during the transition, you had a meeting with the Russian ambassador to the
I
U.S." I
remember
was like,
that.
"Well," he's like, "Well, yeah, because well, yeah, that was just we have meetings all the time." Like he was like, "We're incoming administration, the Russian ambassador." He was like, "Hey, you're going to be the next attorney general. I'm going to come by and say hi." This is so common in Washington, and they were like, "You are compromised by the Russians, and you have perjured yourself, and you have done this and this." And he got himself to basically recuse himself from this, and that is how they were able to set up all the shit to go after Trump, and Sessions was basically forced out. And it's
Yes.
like, and here's the thing: do you think for one fucking second that Pam Bondi is going to let herself get railed by all of professional Washington if they're able to find a way to get her out of the way? She's going to be like, "Fuck you, I'm going down with Trump." Or she's going to be like, "Well, I'm going to have to recuse myself because I was in the checkout line at the Piggly Wiggly and there was somebody else in the checkout line at the Piggly Wiggly, so there's an appearance of impropriety." Pam, I mean, prove me wrong, Pam. Be J.D. Vance, be Rand Paul, but you know what? Until that moment comes, I'm not backing you. I hope they take you out. I hope they
Well,
take you. Yeah, we'll see.
I I still say Matt Gates will be in some kind of a bulldog position. You mark my words.
Matt Gates has decided he wants to be Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, with his new radio
Matt
show
Gates,
and his TV show.
Matt Gates is now just going for the money.
Yeah, but it might further his cause.
It might.
Who
He may come
knows?
back down off the mountain if he's able to be successful. But I don't. Matt Gates isn't coming back into government anytime soon.
Oh, speaking about politics, it looks like the vice chairman of Doge is going to run for your new governor.
Yeah, I like Vivek.
Can he win?
I, I don't know. I think Vivek is very smart. And look, this is some Ohio politics that most people don't understand. Look, we have a governor of Ohio. His name is Mike DeWine, and
I don't like him at all.
I um I I probably dislike Mike DeWine more than I dislike 2011's, which is saying something because I really dislike 2011's. It's a lie. And Mike DeWine is a Republican that results in Donald Trump getting elected. Mike DeWine's one of these guys. You vote for these fucking people and nothing ever changes. It's the Unitarian Party. It's the one party system. And Mike DeWine is he's like, I believe in your Second Amendment rights, but every time something bad happens, he comes out and does whatever. And he even has a daughter that runs an anti-gun political action committee out of her house in Greene County. And but he's actually signed some pro-gun bills. Like in Ohio now, you don't need a license to carry concealed. He signed that bill. And
Oh,
it's
really?
the reason he signed it is because there's so many. You look at the state house, the Republicans at the state level have completely fucking taken over. They is like, I mean, it's been between the pro gun people and this like unitary party bullshit with these Republicans that don't do anything. The Republicans that produced this, Mike DeWine, they remember who was the douchebag governor? John Kasich. Remember that douchebag who was running for
Oh,
president
yeah.
when Trump? And he was a Republican. And that guy is such a douchebag. He literally was to the point. He's like, when we get to the convention, I don't care how many delegates Donald Trump has, they're not going to let him be the nominee. And so what they'll do is they'll strip the delegates from him and they'll give them to me, and it'll be the great compromise, and I will save the Republican Party. And it's like these fucking people, they're not real Republicans. And
Rhinos.
they've been running them out. Like we had Bob Taft here with the famous Taft family, same thing. I mean, we got gun permits in Ohio because we got a Democratic governor who used to be a psychologist in prisons to finally, because there were so many, it was coming, and governors kept vetoing it. And finally, this guy was like, fine, I'll sign this. You can carry guns in Ohio with a license. And so that's Mike DeWine. Mike DeWine is that entire ecosystem of the universe of Republicans in Ohio, these Rhino Republicans. And what's happening is the real Republicans have been coming up and coming up and coming up, and they've swamping the state house. But with that being said, I'm going to give Mike DeWine some props. I don't know how Mike DeWine does this, but Mike DeWine has successfully brought the Intel Giga facility. They want to make these high-end chips. They're making them in Ohio outside of Columbus. They're investing billions and it's going to be thousands and thousands and thousands of people in high-end jobs. Like we're talking Silicon Valley level shit here. Okay.
Nice.
He's got that. He fucking negotiated that. I can't remember. Did he get some other car companies to come here and make shit? Now it just came out. He was able to negotiate. There's this Palmer Luckey guy, and Palmer Luckey is a what did he do? He made a bunch of money. Something in Silicon Valley. Was it a payment system? I can't remember what it was. But now Palmer, maybe it's Facebook. He might have been part of Facebook. And, he got his money. Then Palmer Luckey decided, and it's crazy, Palmer Luckey has decided that he is in the weapons business. And Palmer Luckey is like the loyal wingman, like you see like the in the defense, they'll put out the thing of like they'll show the fighter plane with the robot airplane flying with it, it's like
Right.
stealth and it's got weapons and they can be tankered. That's one of those is his company, and he's got all
Really?
these other weapons that fly up and kill tanks and do all this shit, and it's got Audiel, whatever it's called. So he's this high tech guy, and he's a California guy, and he's his company's most of his businesses are in California. He just now agreed that they are setting up a basically gigafactory in Ohio. They're going to be south of Columbus, so they're able to get the benefit of having all these super high tech engineers for Intel and all these super high tech engineers for this basically robotics weapons company. And they're parked right next to Rickenbacker Airfield, named after Eddie Rickenbacker. It used to be a military base. I think the National Guard still flies out of it. But it's this big facility. They can run the drones out of Rickenbacker. They can literally fly them off that airfield, off that airstrip, and then their customer is right pat. Like this is like what Mike DeWine has done, bringing major super high tech companies from all around the world and all around the country to invest in Ohio. I have to give him the tip of the hat. And I'm saying all that to say this. Vivek Ramaswamy is a tech bro. He made his money in tech. He knows all these people, Peter Thiel. He knows all these people in California. He is smart. He's politically connected. He's savvy. He has some juice. He would be, I feel, unless there's some character flaw with him, which you have to wonder, because there seems to be like he can't seem to get some shit to work out for him, even though I like him. I feel, at least on paper, he should be a great fit as a governor in Ohio because he understands money and he understands technology backwards and forwards and he understands investment and businesses. And I feel like he would be an excellent governor. And in his benefit, if he's able to be an excellent governor, that gives him executive experience in 2032 or 2036 after if JD Vance wins to launch for the White House in his time.
Yeah.
Because Vivek isn't stopping. Vivek's just like the girl in Florida, the attorney general, she's like, oh, this is it. I'm going to retire. I mean, you think
No.
Vivek, if he runs for governor, he's like, well, this is it. I'm at the apex of my career. No, they all want to go somewhere else.
Does Ohio have a 2-term limit on the governor? Is that why DeWine's leaving?
I think, I believe we do. Yeah, I believe we do. We do have term limits on governors.
Or, it's
And he
well, of
just
course,
appointed he just appointed the John Husted, the lieutenant governor, to take J.D. Vance's
yeah,
seat.
which I like that guy. I've heard him speak several times. He's
Yeah, I don't know
he's
that
right
much
wing.
about Husted. I mean, I've seen him, I've voted for him, I've seen his name, but I don't know that much about him. I mean, if you told me he was MAGA, I'd be like, okay. If you told me he was like DeWine and he's like just a regular Republican, I'd be like, okay. I don't honestly know enough about him to know what he is.
Right. Well, see all these people get new jobs. You heard about my new job, didn't you?
Chief political correspondent squared? I don't know
No,
what's.
no. I finally got a role in the porno movie. I'm the husband leaving for work.
That's right. That was something we were joking about on the group
I
chat.
thought I thought you were gonna die when you read that.
It was hilarious. Well, they always. I don't know if I can't remember if it was like the week before. I think or the week after. But when I used to go to SHOT Show, it would always, no pun intended, butt up right up against. They would have the porn convention in Vegas. So you have like all these tactical cop and gun people. I can't remember if it was they were leaving and we were coming. I'm saying that on purpose, or we were, or they were coming and we were leaving. But you would, okay, like you'd be walking through like the airports or walking in and out of these hotels slash casinos. You'd be like, oh, look at that. Like it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess
Who's your
we're
girlfriend, Seika?
yeah, we're hot swapping, to the whatever. And there was a story. I don't even know who this person is, but there's some story that some girl, I guess she had sex with 1,000 guys in like 24 hours, or maybe it's 12
Uh,
hours, but whatever it was, and it was making the news. I didn't want to read it, but there was a story. Um, that came out. So they were running so many guys wherever this happened. It must have been in America. They were running so many people that they had to have dudes queued up. Like if this is like a world record for the Guinness Book of World Records, you got to make sure you don't, like, you're at 999 and you're like, oh fuck, we're short a guy. Like, well, Bob already did it. Like, I don't think he can do it twice because I don't think that's how it works. So you have to kind of like put out like a flyer or something or an email like, hey, we need 1,000 guys, sign up to the list. So they had a lineup, and I guess somebody's mom got on his phone or his computer, or maybe it was a family email. And so basically, she's like, what the fuck? Where's little Johnny? And he's lined, this kid is lined, he might have been a minor, I don't know, but he's lined up to go port this girl. And there were like 30 guys lined up out of like a building or a hotel. And this dude's mom showed up, be like, what the fuck are you doing? Get the fuck out of this. And like someone else was videotaping it. And it was like, I thought that was hilarious. I don't
Jesus,
care.
she had as many dicks sticking out of her as she had stuck in her. She'd look like a porcupine.
Yeah. So, all right. So what had started us having this quick emergency pod? You
Yeah, I've
said
got so
Trump.
much Yeah, I tell you what.
You said
I
that did Trump pull 500 Marines out of Camp Pendleton from a helicopter
yes he
attack squadron?
yes he did. They're part of the 1,500 that are going to the border now.
Are they going with their
Quick,
helicopters?
their whole unit, the advanced helicopter, whatever it would be.
Heavy
You know,
helicopter, whatever, or yeah,
yeah,
I can't remember.
and
HMW.
now, and here's the thing: do you bring those Marines along with their Cobras and Hueys and all the other things that go with it, just to help put up barbed wire? Makes you sort of wonder, doesn't it? Out of all the service people he could have had, why do you bring a frontline attack squad?
Well, there's a couple reasons. One, they're not that far. I mean, again, like
They're
they're not
10
going to.
minutes away.
Well, I mean, yeah, they. I mean, they could do Southern California. The other thing is too, traditionally and legally, the president has more authority to do stuff with the Marine Corps for two reasons. Number one, the Marine Corps is not a second army. The Marine Corps is set up as an expeditionary, which means they go places, as an
Right.
expeditionary fighting force. Um, and they're also designed to do this quickly. When the United States Constitution was created, we had the War Department. And so in the War, because it was the Secretary of War, it wasn't Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of War, you had the Department of the Army, okay, which was if a war breaks out, you go to the Department of the Army and you get your army ready because we're going to go have a big war. Okay. Then you have the Department of the Navy. Okay. And the Department of the Navy is always doing Navy shit, even when we're not at war. They're protecting the coasts. They're sailing around the world. They're monitoring sea lines. If the pirates of the Barbary Coast are kidnapping American sailors, we send we don't have to declare war on the pirates. We don't have to fucking get the army to go over there. You just send the fucking, I think it was Jefferson, send the fucking navy over there from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, and the Marines went ashore and kicked these boys' asses. And so there's always been like the Marines, you don't have to really declare war. Now, some of this has changed with the War Powers Act and with Title 10 and Title 15 and the way stuff works now. And I understand that. But the reality is, at the end of the day, the conventional military, because like the president can get Delta Force and they can just call them and JSOC and they can just do all this shit on their own. Because they go straight to the president. Well, the Marines are set up to really just function at the orders of the president at his whim. Because you hear these phrases and people hear these, send in the Marines. Like that comes from somewhere. It's like, just send them in. We don't have to tell anybody. Yeah, the president will tell people. He will alert the the Speaker of the House and the President pro tem of the Senate and blah 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 blah. But it's like, at the end of the day, President will be like, send in the fucking Marines. I don't give a fuck. Whether it's to evacuate an embassy, secure a border, or start killing cartel members.
Do you think they'll bring the
That
drones with them?
they will bring everything. Look, if you're
Really?
going to be sending a Marine unit down to the border and they're a helicopter unit,
Yes.
they're going to be patrolling. There's going to be air defense, and they're going to be patrolling, and there's going to be radios. And I will say this. If I was Mexico, I don't even think Mexico technically really has a functioning Air Force anymore. They used to fly F-5s. Like very recently, I think they were thinking about getting rid of them because it's like, we don't really have a problem and we're next to America. This is another one of those things where Trump says, you rip us off because you can use your money for other shit because you depend on us to defend you. If I was the president of Mexico and I was talking to my General Miley down there, I'd be like, yo, do you have any intelligence, surveillance, or reconnaissance, or can you call somebody? Be like, is Donald Trump going to cross the border? Because there's nothing keeping, if they see something that they want to get, because Donald Trump is pissed. And if they say, Mr. President, there's a meth factory 1.8 kilometers south of the border, and Trump is so pissed off, he'd be like, fucking blow that up. And then it's like, okay, well, only one person can tell the U.S. military to cross an international border. That's the President of the United States. And does Mexico have air defense? Here's the thing. I guarantee you right now that there are people in the Marine Corps on the West Coast Their job in the military is to come up with every conceivable possible mission set that the National Command Authority could throw at them. They don't wait for the president to be like, go in and destroy this, cross the border. Be like, oh, fuck, we didn't plan for that. So I guarantee you that if this helicopter squadron is moving down to the border, that they're like, okay, I need a complete ISR package on every air defense unit within 500 miles of the border in Mexico. Because if we have to go across with our air assets, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to launch a suppression of enemy air defense, and we're going to destroy these air defense systems because they're not going to let them shoot at us when we're going in. I mean, like, everybody's jersey waving right now because it's like a football game, like Ohio State, Notre Dame, and it's like the real people that have to deal with this stuff. This is very serious business right now, and it's more serious than the media's leading you to believe. And we need to be very cognizant of what we focus on and what we report to help people to get ready. You know, I'm curious if Trump decides and he's not negotiating with the Panamanians on the Panama Canal, who's going to take it? Is it going to be the Marines? Could be.
Yeah, it has to be.
I mean, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't. I mean, the Marines didn't invade Panama. I mean, it was. Like they were probably part of the invasion, but it was mostly Army, 18 Airborne Corps, and then like the SEALs went down there, and then I know 75th Ranger Regiment jumped into Panama because I know guys that did it. Trump could very easily start moving military assets into the Gulf of America to do shit against the cartels. And as he's doing this, or also, the West Coast Marines are going to be positioning, down the West Coast. What if all of a sudden you have a Marine? I don't know. I have to check today. I don't know where any current floats or the Marine Corps Muse are float. But all of a sudden, if there's a Marine Corps, these little, I have to describe it so people understand what it's like. These little, like these Marine Expeditionary Units, and they change it to Marine Expeditionary Brigades. They're these, the Marines that show up on these little aircraft carriers. That show up like, 1,800 Marines or 2,000 Marines off the coast that can like go into the embassy. All of a sudden, if one of these floats, is out now within like, say, international maritime borders are 12 miles. What if now suddenly there's a Marine Corps float that's, 150 miles off the west coast of Mexico heading down, and it could literally, shit could be moving down, doing shit against the cartels, like the big cherry big ones that Trump just can hit. And then all of a sudden now, in coordination with Southcom, we have military assets, ground assets, on both sides of Panama, off the coast. And what I'm saying right now is so fantastically crazy not going to happen until you realize Donald Trump is president, and it very likely could happen. Like
then you do a reassessment.
you have to. In war, you have problems and then you have dilemmas. A problem is something you absolutely have to deal with right now. But dilemmas are when you're having to be like, okay, I've got to deal with, I've got to be ready for something over here, but I got to be ready for something over here. And I also got to be careful because there could be something over here. And then also something could come up behind me. And I only have X amount of bandwidth or assets or military power to maybe focus on two of them. So now I'm divided, and it causes a dilemma. Donald Trump is going to have a very interesting first 2 years as president.
He's going to have a very interesting first 2 weeks.
Well, this wraps up episode 362 of the John1911 Podcast. You want to see any more stories or pictures, links, or anything we discussed, please go to the website at John1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun, everybody. Have a good day.
Bye bye.